Or is this full-time MMA now?
I love full-time MMA right now.
Back to the daily grind. Thanks for checking out the channel. Make sure to subscribe if you're new and hook your boy up with a like if you're not a baby back bagel biting bitch boy, cause you know what time it is. It's full time.
MMA.
UFC Fight Night Cerrone versus Till is right around the corner. It's just 2 weeks away. Next week we've got UFC 216 pay-per-view. Tony Ferguson versus Kevin Lee for the interim lightweight title, as well as Demetrius Johnson versus who's he fighting? Ray Borg. Oh yeah, okay. So, but 1 week after that, we've got a Fight Pass exclusive card. This entire card is going to be on Fight Pass, and Donald Cerrone is in the main event versus undefeated Darren Till. There's 4 fights on the main card that I'm going to be predicting, and man, I got 3 upsets, 3 underdogs winning out of 4 fights. So this is going to be a fun night. I'm either going to go down in flames or hey, I'm going to look like a genius. I can't wait for the fake money series on these. But alright, so let's start with the first fight of the night. We've got Johnny Bravo Wilson, who's 7-2, 1-2 in the UFC, and he's fighting undefeated Oscar Piechota, who's 9-0-1. This is his UFC debut though. But I did the research. Oscar Piechota, he's got 9 wins and all 9 of them are finishes. He does have 1 draw, but man, that's pretty impressive. 9 wins, undefeated, 9 finishes, and he's fighting a guy that's 1-2 in the UFC. He's currently on a 2-fight losing streak, both of which losses came in 2016, so he hasn't fought yet in 2017. And man, I'm picking Jonathan Wilson. He's the favorite, and I'm picking him to lose this fight. He's got 3 fights in the UFC, as to where Oscar has 0, which means something, but still I'm picking Oscar to come in here and get a big win on his UFC debut. And then imagine that, he's gonna be 10-0. What if he gets a finish? 10-0, 10 finishes. He's gonna be out here looking good. So if he loses, there is something to be said about fights in the UFC, UFC experience, but it is what it is. I'm picking Oscar to get the upset victory here in his UFC debut. Next fight, we got Devin Clark, 9-1 versus Jan Blachowicz, 19-7. I'm picking Devin Clark to come in here and beat the more experienced Jan Blachowicz. This fight card is in Poland. Karolina Kowalkiewicz is here, that's big, she fought Joanna. But anyways, back to the Devin Clark Jan Blachowicz fight. I'm picking Devin Clark to get the also the upset victory here. He's 2-1 in the UFC. He got knocked out in his UFC debut versus Alex Nicholson, but since then he's on a 2-fight winning streak versus Joshua Stansberry and Jake Collier. Both of those fights he outstruck and scored more takedowns than his opponents. And so, he's got 10 professional fights, and he's got 3, fights in the UFC. Now he's fighting against Jan Blachowicz, who's 1-4 since 2015, and all 5 of those fights are unanimous decisions. Jan is 19-7 overall record, and he's got 6 fights in the UFC. He's 2-4, and as I said, he's 1-4 since 2015. All of those are unanimous decisions. His only win was over Igor Pekrajak, who's on a 5-fight losing streak. So I'm picking Devin Clark to come in here. He'll go up to 10-1. That's another promising. Another guy that's, and he's younger. He's got the youth. Jan's got the experience. Devin Clark's got the youth. So I'm picking Devin Clark to come in here and get that upset victory as well. Next, we've got Karolina Kowalkiewicz versus Maria Esquibel. Maria, this is her first fight in the UFC. She's been fighting in Invicta. She's 6-2 overall, and she was 3-1 in Invicta since 2014, and her only loss was to current UFC fighter Alexa Grasso. 2 of her wins in her last 4 fights, she's 3-1 in her last 4 fights, but 2 of the wins are split decisions. She's fighting against Karolina Kowalkiewicz, number 6th ranked strawweight in the world. Karolina is on a 2-fight losing streak, but those 2 losses are to Claudia Gadelha and Joanna Jędrzejczyk, 2 of the best strawweight fighters in the world. Before that, she was on a 3-fight winning streak with wins over Rose Namajunas, Heather Jo Clark, and Randa Marcos, all UFC fights. So Karolina Kowalkiewicz has fought some of the best strawweights in the world. She's got more UFC experience, and she's coming off of 2 losses, but it's 2 of the top females in the world, Claudia and Joanna. Meanwhile, Maria Esquibel's been over there fighting in Invictus, so I'm definitely picking Karolina Kowalkiewicz to get the big victory in her hometown. She might even get a finish here, who knows. Donald Cerrone versus Darren Till. Man, this one's hard. This one was a hard one to pick. But man, if you just remember that soundbite, as a matter of fact, if you don't remember it, here's the soundbite from his last fight versus Robbie Lawler.
Donald has had half of his intestine and stomach removed. He was in a terrible motocross accident where his guts were literally hanging out. And it's one reason why a lot of people speculate he's been vulnerable to the body.
And Lawler attacks the right side of that Cerrone body yet again. We will go into the blue corner now.
He got no liver.
Excuse me, into the red
Boy
corner of Robbie Lawler.
Boy got no liver.
Keep working. Nice. That's it,
Here Tommy Barzini, Joe.
Robbie Lawler's corner was yelling that, you know, whenever, like in the 3rd round, whenever it was really time to kick it in, you know, and it was time for Robbie Lawler to go out there and earn that decision or get the win however he needed to, that's when his corner started yelling, boy got no liver. So, Darren Till, if you don't know about Darren, if you don't know, now you know. Anyways, Darren Till, he's undefeated, 15-0. Fucking precision striker, very confident fighter. He's from Switzerland, I believe, but he's been fighting out of Brazil for like the last 9 years. I think I heard Dan Hardy saying, and you know, training Brazilian jiu-jitsu. He's young. Yeah, I think, man, he might be. I'm gonna make a top 5 exciting prospects list, and Darren Till's definitely on it. He's one of the UFC's brightest prospects, just from looking at his recent fights. He hasn't really fought anybody in the top 10 yet. Donald Cerrone will be welcoming him into the top 10, but I think he's like a bad matchup for Donald Cerrone, because Donald Cerrone, you know, it's not like he's just gonna, you know, like wrestle fuck Darren Till or something, because Darren Till striking is not his weakness. His jiu-jitsu is not really his weakness. So I mean, if Darren Till has a weakness, it might be, you know, versus a really strong wrestler, but I don't even know if that'll work. Cause Darren Till, you know, he's scored a couple takedowns. I watched all of his UFC fights, Fight Pass recently, so Darren Till, man, he looks really good. He's a precision striker, and he really likes to rip those kicks to the body, and that's what Robbie Lawler started doing. His corner started yelling out, boy got no liver. Darren Till, he can give you those fucking body kicks. So Donald Cerrone's gonna have to be on the defensive from the very beginning, and Donald Cerrone's really the most comfortable, you know, when he's in there and he can exchange, you know, when he gets real comfortable in there. Like versus Matt Brown, he was kind of losing that fight until Matt Brown gave him that high five and he, you know, shook it off and got real comfortable, and that's when he got that knockout. Now Darren Till, he's gonna let, you know, I don't think Donald Cerrone's ever gonna be comfortable in there. Darren Till is really impressive, so he's also an underdog. I'm picking to win the fight here. Donald Cerrone though, man, Donald Cerrone's record, he's 32-9, so he's got way more experience. He's 19-6 in the UFC. Before that, you know, he's got fights in WEC. Fought the best of the best for so long. But, you know, this is experience versus youth. But Darren Till, they said he's been knocking out grown men since he was 15 years old. So even though he's young, he's experienced. And I think Darren Till is at the point in his career where he's going to start putting together maybe a title run. He's been saying that leading up to his fights. You know, this is just a stop in my career. You know, that's why he's so confident. He just feels like he's beating guys till he gets to his title shot. This is going to be his first real test, as some people would say, to the general public. I mean, even though some of his opponents, you know, they're like 16-4 and shit like that, so it's not like he's just beating up scrub. But Darren Till, I think he's going to get put on a lot of people's radar this fight, and I think he might. I mean, I don't want to predict Donald Cerrone to get knocked out, but Darren Till might get the finish here. Who knows? It is what it is. Let me know what the fuck you talking about in the comments. I'm out.